There is a lot of things, but this is what it takes, so we're gonna go through it. You coming to say hi? Come on, you can come say hello to everybody. I'll talk to you whiny, complainy one. This is Phoenix. Say hi. She's a little complainer when you pick her up. There you go. So, in this video, we're going to talk about what we bring along with us when we go hunting. And as you can see where my cat is, there is a ton of stuff there on the floor, like loads and loads and loads of stuff. And the mystery always is, how do you figure out what to bring when you go on a bigger trip into the backcountry? It is somewhat of a mission, and over the years, this is what it's boiled down to. So we're going to go through that. All of that gear has to go into this bag, and I guess I'll talk about the bag a little bit. So I ran a bunch of different bags. I tried Stone Glaciers and Kuiu 7200s and big pack frame backpacks, but then I kind of got into this guy, and it's the biggest pack that Mystery Ranch makes in their hunting lineup. I believe it's the Marshall. I think it's 100 liters or 110 liter bag in total. And let me tell you, we use every single inch of it all of the time. So big backpack is kind of where it's at, especially when it comes to trying to bring filming stuff with you, because it just takes up that extra bit of room. But this is everything that I bring with me when we go hunting. So let's go through that stuff. So we've got all of the things, so many things. I've already made a video on what I'm bringing for food. All of the food is right there. But I guess, where do we even start? Let's just pick a category and go with it. Maybe I'll start with clothing and my theory with that. Okay, so if we're gonna start with clothes, it is somewhat of a big one. This is it. I try to bring less and less every single year, because every single time I bring too much freaking clothing, and because I'm such a big human being, like I'm 250, 6'2" and change, so all of my clothing weighs a ton, and I don't tend to bring a ton. The one thing I never forget though is a spare set of pants. So I guess with pants, I carry a lightweight set, and this pair of pants is by Prana. They're like a hiking brand. Just like a really nice, lightweight, like flexible, stretchy pair of pants to hike with. Any of our aggressive hiking, I generally will wear like a lighter weight set of pants. That way if they get wet or whatever, they dry out quickly. I found that to be like my number one most worn piece of clothing out there. In the past, I've never been packing rain gear because I've always just had tarps in the bag all the time. So if you get stuck in super crappy weather, you can just hunker down under one of these. But my mom and her partner Rick were way up in the Yukon this year, and they went up and do a trip into Alaska. They bought a place in the Yukon, and they picked me up this Columbia Omnitech jacket as a new piece of rain gear, because I didn't have anything really anymore. Like I had some PVC stuff I would bring forever. It was really heavy, but this thing is brand new and it doesn't weigh a ton, and it would save me in the pinch. So I think I'm going to pack it this trip. So that's all I'm bringing for rain gear, no rain pants. I'm a huge proponent of puffy jackets. Like where we're going this year for deer, it's going to get quite cold. Like the overnight lows for the forecast for the general area at the valley floor is like highs of 13 to 17 and overnight lows of 0 to 3 degrees. And we're going to be like 2 to 4,000 feet above that, depending on where we end up. So, well, not quite 4, but 2 to 3,500 feet above that. So it's going to be below 0, and we're supposed to get some rain. So puffy coats, this one I've had for literally an eon. It's Brecca. I've been trying to find another one in forever. And the reason I like this one so much is because it's actual down for one, so it is quite good at cutting wind, and it's stupidly light, and it crunches up into nothing. So this has been like my number one most worn piece of clothing out there. I love this jacket. I wear it all the time. But last year I bought this great big Kuiu jacket thinking it would be somewhat light. It ended up being not very light, which could be a benefit, because the one downfall of this thing, with it being so light, is it snags on stuff, and I always get like little holes in it, and it's slowly over time losing some of its fill because of it, like just little holes here and there. But I might bring this jacket this time in lieu of bringing a hard shell. It's heavier, so I only wore it once last year on a sheep hunt, and it was -19, and it did me really good. I packed out a deer with this on that trip, and it was nice to wear in those conditions. And what I'm thinking this year is, instead of bringing multiple layers, I'm just going to bring the one bigger jacket and keep that with me. So in the mornings when we're sitting glassing, I have something that's like pretty warm and will keep me that way throughout the morning, because the worst thing ever is when you're sitting there cold and shivering and you can't even look through the glass. That sucks. Clothes besides that's pretty simple. Like, for 7 to 10 days, I'm bringing 2 pairs of socks. One of them I'm gonna wear, one will be a spare. I would like to normally have 3, because your feet are kind of your most important thing. I still might yet bring 3. Spare pair of Saks boxers, it's kind of a necessity. And then I have like a set of Kuyu guide pants. They're more heavily insulated ones. Generally when we're not moving around a lot, I'll switch into these pants. And then on top of that, the one thing I forgot to grab here is this really thin base layer. And I don't wear the base layer all the time, but at nighttime, it is nice to throw it on in your sleeping bag. So that's a big one. And as far as upper stuff, like this is Gen 1 Kuyu Verd Merino. Been absolutely thrashed. It has a ton of holes in it. Should probably actually sew this big one up, but with stuff being like $100+ to get a new shirt, when I can wear one that's kind of haggard and you're gonna be thrashing it anyways, I choose to just do that. So I got a merino base layer. I'll always bring just like our standard cotton tee, or that one's a long sleeve. And then this is a layer I actually wear quite a bit. It's also like a Gen 1 Verd thing. I bought it from a guy secondhand out of Vancouver over Facebook Marketplace. I don't even know exactly what jacket this is. They guarantee you they don't make it anymore. But it's kind of like a fleece. It has like fleece inside, and I'm massive on fleece. Besides a puffy, I love fleeces. They're quiet, they're warm, they buck the wind, like they're great. This is just like a thinner, kind of lighter fleece that you can wear over top of like your base or a t-shirt. And generally this thing is enough most of the time. So yeah, and then the only other thing I'd like to touch on that I'm packing this year is I'm bringing gloves, because first thing in the morning, late in the evening, when you get some colder temps and higher winds, like trying to hang on to binoculars or your tripod or anything that's cold, it really does suck to hang on to. Your hands will freeze in like 2 minutes, and then it's just miserable. So I'm bringing those just as like a thin layer to keep your skin off cold metal. And then I'm bringing a mama knit, which is a toque that one of my buddy Tom's moms made. This thing's been with me on a bunch of different hunts, killed a bunch of stuff, and this toque always been good that way. So yeah, and then boots, obviously. I run Mendel boots now. I always ran Scarpas, but then they discontinued the Tri-Evo GXT, and that was the one that I really liked. So I tried a pair of these, and I took these into the backcountry last year, brand new out of the box, did like 30K round trip, packed out of Caribou, and these things never hurt my feet at all. They are amazing boots. So hats off to Mendel, because they make great boots. My feet never got wet. They are a little heavy, but they're a good boot, so I don't mind it. And I guess now we'll get into the rest of this stuff, because there's still a lot to go over. Okay, as far as what I'm thinking I'm going to bring for optics, so I have this small rig video tripod with a panoramic head on it. This thing has been an unreal tripod. It's a bit heavy, but it's super stable, and it'll never ever let you down. The only problem I've had with it is just rattling around when we're back home in the truck. Sometimes these leg bolts come undone, but a little bit of blue Loctite and you're good there. That's why I lost this one handle bolt in the up top, but fix that up. longer bolt, bunch of washers, but we're gonna bring a 15 to 45 by 60 mil spotter. It's a Viper. Thing's kind of a chunk of shit, but nonetheless, it's all I got, so that's what I'm bringing. And I have these Kaibabs HDs. They're 15 power binos. Why would I bring double the optics? Well, I'm also, one thing that's not in here, I'll grab it in a little bit, but in my bino harness, I have a set of 10 powers as well. But to be honest, like when you're glassing so far, they really just don't cut it. I mean, they do. They're good for like spotting an animal from a long ways away, but you can't tell what they are. But with the 15s, like you set these up on your tripod, you can look behind them all day long. They give you way more than enough zoom, and you never get tired of looking through these. Like, to be fair, the only reason that I'm bringing this, I might not even bring it just yet because we're going to have a couple big cameras with us with crazy zoom. But it is nice to be able to watch stuff from a distance in the spotter, but 90% of the time, I don't even use that thing. Like, this thing is only to ID exactly what you're looking at. As far as finding deer and finding bucks, like, that's really all you need. So yeah, I'm going to bring, I think, both of those. When I pack up the bag and we'll weigh it up, I'll look to see how much it actually weighs. And I'll decide then, because if it's kind of teetering like 70 pounds, then I might not bring the spotter. But glassing pad. These things weigh nothing. They're made by Thermarest. I think they're like 29 bucks or something in Canadian dollars. Use this thing all the time. It's one of my favorite things I have in my whole backpack because it gets used the most. And that pretty much covers optics. Okay, and now the sleep system. So new to me this year is this guy. It's a way bigger sleeping pad than I've previously used. This was the one I had last year, the insulated static V. It was great in colder temps. I used it a bunch, but I sleep on my side and my shoulder always digs into the ground. So this guy is kind of the answer to that. I inflated it once already. It seems like it's going to be a great thing to have. It was like $300 something, which is massive. But this thing is 4 inches thick, and that is the game changer. It's going to be way more comfortable to sleep on. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have zero complaints with that. Hi, Muns. I have a Marmot -8 full down sleeping bag. It's like a mummy bag in an XL size. That's what's in there as far as my main sleeping bag. And because we're probably going to be down to below -0, and to be fair, like, yes, that bag's rated for -8, but really it's only comfortable down to about -1 or 2. After that, she's pretty chilly. So this is like a down blanket that I bring with me, and I stick it inside my sleeping bag, mostly around my feet. And the other thing is I'll end up, when it gets that cold, I'll generally end up sleeping in a lot of my clothes just to stay warm at night. And the last thing on the sleeping list is this guy. It's just a little inflatable pillow. Normally I would sleep on my clothes, but this thing weighs like absolutely nothing. It's super tiny, and it blows up to be pretty big. So I'm going to run this. It has like some little sticky bits on the bottom that keeps it from sliding around inside your bag. So this thing goes in the kind of the hood of your sleeping bag and gives you something to prop your head up on. The only other thing that's not here is the tent, and that's because they would normally be here, but my brother has it. We're only bringing one tent. It's a 2-person single pole tent, weighs like 2 pounds. And that's kind of the whole sleep system. The only other part of it, I guess, is the sill tarp. AquaQuest 10x10 sill tarp. This thing saved us a bunch of times. You can use it to collect water. It gives you a way bigger vestibule. It doesn't weigh very much, and it's nice to have with you. Highly recommend having one of these. It's not a necessity, but I definitely like having it. Which that kind of brings us into the more gear section, which is probably actually the smallest section. If we weren't bringing camera stuff, it would be even smaller. But this is a second tarp I'm bringing, and I can afford to bring it because I'm not packing a tent. This one's a bit heavier, but it's a 12x12 rab. Super nice tarp. Saved us a bunch of times last year. This thing I'm bringing in lieu of a full set of rain gear. So if we're gonna have bad weather and we're not anywhere close to our camp, set this thing up with our poles. I leave like guy lines tied onto the corners so you can cinch it down and onto some trees or rocks or whatever, and have a dry place to hang out. Because the worst thing about being out in the middle of nowhere, if you get uncomfortable and wet, it's really hard to get unwet. So yeah, trekking poles, very, very important. These are like a set of McKinley's, nothing too crazy. They're variants, they're nice and long. Done me good. I've had those for like probably 5 years. Water. So I normally would have like a 10-liter satchel. My brother, I think, is bringing one this year. So I'm bringing like a spare 2-liter. I'm going to hike in with water in that. This is a 3-liter that I've had for like 12 years, this platypus one. It's a super good water bladder. You can tell it's like a little discolored and stuff from being beat up on the outside, but never had a single problem with this thing. 3 liters is tons to have in your bag. So that's one thing I like to always have it as much water as possible, especially when you got to hike a ways to go get water. This little guy. So this is an 80-liter dry bag, and I learned the importance of having one of these doing a solo backpack hunt where I shot a deer on day 1 of a 10-day trip with way too much stuff in my bag, and I physically couldn't put any more room or anything in the backpack. So this thing comes along as a just in case factor. It's pretty durable, and you can take a lot of your lighter weight items that take up a ton of volume in your bag, stick it in this thing and strap it to the outside of your pack. And then once that's on there, it'll free up some room so you can keep all the weight closer to your back. Little knickknacks. So last year we had a run-in with a big grizzly bear, and this year I kind of got smarter. I'm not a proponent of bear spray, but True Flare pens, they're like a little, basically just like a little firing pin in a pen. You screw in the bear bangers and you can shoot these off in their direction and hopefully scare away a big angry grizzly bear. So that's coming for sure this year where we're going. I keep a utility knife in my bag, something for general purpose stuff. Couple 3 lighters. This one's like almost empty, but lighting fires is a super important thing to have. So I have like redundancy on top of redundancy when it comes to that. I always keep a bit of tape in there, and this is mostly just for blisters. You can tape your heels up or your toes, or if you get hot spots, this will save you that way. I also have some moleskin as well right here, because feet care just in case stuff goes sideways. Nice to have with you. A little bit of ibuprofen and some Tylenol in case you're hurting. Electrical tape has 1,000,001 uses, so bring that, but it's also to tape up the barrel on the end of the rifle in case it gets messed up or whatever. And water purification tablets. I got to refill the one side of this thing, but this is for cooking meat on the mountain. It's just some various seasoning salts that we like to put on our game meat so we can cook game in camp. That is a nice thing to have. The other side will have like salt and pepper in it. The kill kit's super simple. These are reusable game bags. I've put like 3 deer through these. They're not overly expensive. I think they're under $100. They might even be cheaper now, but they're just like big cotton game bags, and they're strong, so you can put a bunch of stuff in them, and they're a good size. I'll probably bring 2 of these with me. And garbage bags, they'll go inside of the garbage bag when they go into my pack, just to keep stuff clean. And this year I'm trying a different knife, not even out of like curiosity or whatever. It's just where I live, I couldn't get spare blades. So I'm trying a fixed blade outdoor edge this year. This is like their fillet style blade. It came with 3 of their regular 3.5s, but this will be the knife for dealing with game on this trip. It'll work good. They all do. Love using these because you don't have to worry about sharpening your knife when it gets dull up on the hill. Main headlamp, backup headlamp, set of spare batteries for both. They're both great. They're both like this one's a 400 and that's a 300 lumen. I actually just realized when editing this that I never talked about my cooking setup, but basically I just bring a medium-sized gas can. It boils 55 liters of water. My main boiling pot is my own custom thing. It's a 1 liter hyper boiler. I forget who makes it, but it's a little like titanium pot. And then inside of that I have a mug. Some of the cooking stuff that we use requires you to make like 2 separate packets of things. The ones I'm bringing this time don't, but the kit basically is the main pot, a cup inside, the stove fits inside of that, and it all goes into something that's like the size of your hand. So it's more compact than a Jetboil, and it actually weighs a little bit less even with the extra pot. So I figured I'd throw that in there because that is kind of an important part. You need to be able to boil water. And into filming stuff. So this is our backup camera, the one I've had forever. It's filmed a lot of our content. I just have it here for display because I'm actually not bringing this one this year. I'm bringing a Nikon P950. I just don't have it with me. This is my old GoPro as well. My other GoPro's in my truck at the shop, so I got a 10 now. This is a 7, but nonetheless it'll represent what I'm bringing. And 2 spare batteries for the main camera, microphone, 3 spare batteries for the GoPro, with a little charging brick. I don't know if I'll bring the charging brick, but I'll definitely bring the 3 batteries. And then 3 camera cards. So one is an emergency one in case we have a card failure. One goes in the GoPro, one goes in the main camera. Then of course we'll be filming on the phone, which is what I'm filming this on. And then we got charging for the batteries, and this one is for this camera, which probably won't come along, but it's there nonetheless. And this bag here, this Sea to Summit bag, this is what I'm jamming all of my clothing into. So believe it or not, this massive pile of crap, minus a couple items, does fit in there, and then I can keep it all in one condensed little package in a dry bag and fit it into the backpack. Toilet paper, obviously a necessity, and then your food for a week plus. So that's pretty much all you need out there. I'm not bringing gaiters. We're not going to be trudging through a bunch of stuff that's really wet. It's going to be pretty open country, so it's, 1, I wore my gaiters out last year, and 2, it's kind of hard to find gaiters that fit me. Like, I have big ass feet, and the only ones I can ever find that do half decent are like Hill Sounds. They've always fit me quite well, but it's really hard to find them here locally in extra large size, so it is what it is. And then we're bringing a gun, obviously, because you can't kill stuff in the mountains without a pew-pew slinger. So this is a custom Tikka 3X light, stainless, that's been Cerakoted, has an IBI 18-inch barrel, also Cerakoted magazine, custom bolt knob. It's in a Tikka varmint stock with the cheek riser, has a Leopold Varix 3i 2-10 on top with my little custom turret with all of my ballistic data on it. And I'm bringing 10 rounds of ammunition, 7 spare, 3 in the gun. Okay, so that big pile of clothes all went into the dry bag, and this is the real big plus of this thing. So the only thing I don't have in here is my light set of pants, a t-shirt, my boxers, a pair of socks, and 1 jacket that is going to be in a different position in my pack. But you can partially roll this thing over, squeeze all the air out of it. One too many. And it just like hyper condenses all of your clothes. So that massive pile of stuff just got turned into something that can now fit into my bag. And that's why the dry bag comes along for the clothes. It's a pretty clutch item to have. Okay, so I guess we'll get to packing this thing. One thing I'll say about packing your backpack, all of your big voluminous items, they're going to go on the bottom. They take up the most amount of room. That's where the most amount of space is in your bag. So it's going to go sleep system, clothing, food, and most of all of this other stuff, including optics and like camera gear. A lot of it is going to get crammed into wherever it'll fit. But the things I need to easy to get at camera stuff. Binos and rangefinder are also in my bino harness, which isn't sitting here, but jacket, various items like your headlamps and your spare knife, pretty much just like the things that you might need in a hurry. I throw all that stuff in the lid, and the lid ends up generally being somewhat heavy, but for the most part, this stuff and the food is going to eat the majority of the space in my bag. So let's pack her up. The key is to try and utilize every little inch of volume that you have. One real nice thing about this bag too is it opens up from both sides. Really easy to pack stuff when it's like that. Okay, so I zipped up the sides. All the food, all the sleep system, everything is in there now. I just got the camera gear and the optics and the stuff that goes in the lid. Right now, I don't know how heavy it is. It's probably like 40 pounds, I'd say, maybe a bit more. Okay, so glassing pad, water, my tarp, and then this guy, which I was just using to film on. He's coming too, because he's going to give us the ability to film some super cool little cinematic shots in weird places. It's extra weight, but if you want to try and film your hunts, it's kind of a nice thing to have. Little Joby Gorilla Pod. And last but not least is the easy stuff to get at. So rain jacket and this one kind of fleecy Kuiu piece of gear go on top. So it's the easiest thing to get at when you fold your lid over, because I'm going to hike up in a t-shirt, but because you're going to get super hot and sweaty carrying this massive behemoth of a backpack. But that's going to be nice to have if it's really windy when you break tree line. This is the only thing that I don't have in there because I hate this spoon and I lost my long shanked Sea to Summit titanium one. So I got to go buy a new one of those. I'm going to look for one today. But everything's in here. Battery bank, spare batteries, mic, the memory cards are the spare batteries. And this will just represent the other GoPro. And then the camera goes in here. And that's everything in there except for the gun, which I got to still find the bipod for. But we'll throw all this together. Oh yeah, she's good and heavy now with the optics in there, but we'll weigh this sucker and see what I'm hiking in with this year. This is just another reason why I like this backpack. So it has no frontal straps, but spotters in here, 15s are in here, the binos, tripod on the side, you got compression straps around the side, gun sits in there perfect, and then you got these nice straps that come up the center, and it really just sucks the whole load of the backpack really nice and tight. This frame, it's really comfortable to carry. You got the load lifters really sucked up tight, and when you get everything put in it all together, it's just like a really stable riding bag, which is super important because if your pack's rocking around, it's going to rub you the wrong way. It's going to make for a shitty experience. Okay, so the only other thing that I'm missing is my Crocs. And that's because those are in my truck, which I'll be getting back today. But besides that, that's the whole loadout. Let's go grab a scale. All right, let's see how much of a fat ass I am today. 254. Wow. Final weight 326.6 pounds. And that's without my bino harness, so including the gun though. Oh yeah. This thing is not gonna be fun to carry up there, let me tell you. Okay, so little quick math. That's 72 pounds, including the rifle. So bino harness probably weighs about like 3 pounds, I'd say, with the rangefinder in there. Maybe a little bit more, but keep a couple spare bullets, spare battery, that type of stuff. But all in all, 70 pounds with the rifle. It's not terrible. I think last year for a 10-dayer, I was a little bit less. I think it was 69, but I didn't pack in any water. And this time I'm packing in some water because we don't know if there's going to be any for a bit when we get up there. But nonetheless, that's the backpack. Hopefully you guys found that a little bit useful. Just goes to show how much you actually bring sometimes on these big trips. Well, now that the bag is completely packed, there is one more thing that I wanted to mention about going on a mountain hunt, because it's pretty goddamn important, to be honest. This stuff also is coming on the trip. So we bring 2 great big coolers. One of them alone could fit most of a deer, but what we do is we'll stack about half the cooler depth with blocks of ice, and then we'll leave the drain holes open for when it's hot out and all the water will drip out of into the box. And then when we get back, you don't want your meat to get wet. So we'll lay either garbage bags on the game bags or whatever, and we can put the meat in the cooler and it'll stay dry. But 2 coolers, typically you'll do a deer when it's nice and splayed out. And jerry cans, because there's no fuel for a long ways where we're going. So we have to bring gas to get in there and out. So just thought I'd bring that up, because that's some more logistics behind a bigger backcountry trip. When you send it into the middle of nowhere, you need some way to keep your meat from going bad if it's hot in the bottom, which this year we might not have those really hot temps. It should be pretty cold overnight, but nonetheless, good to be prepared. You work super hard for your meat, don't want it to go bad. And 2, always good to have spare fuel, because spare fuel is very important when you can't just drive to a gas station. Thanks for watching what I bring with me when we go hunting. Hopefully it was a little bit informative to you guys. Looking forward to this season. It's going to be a great year. Should be a good trip. Went and picked up some new glasses. Old man vibes hard, but they're big, and I got 2 pairs. So this one, when I shoulder a rifle, it doesn't mess with me or whatever. Normally I'd always be looking through like the top little bit, and sometimes it was hard to see when you're proned out. Now that I'm running the old man spectacles, it should be a lot better. So yeah, thanks for watching, you guys. It's been a lot of time figuring out what we bring and how we run our system. So if this was informative to you at all, please consider a like and a subscribe. And we're going to be gone for a bit, so we'll see you when we get out of the mountains. Hopefully we get some good luck and bring home a giant.